Yep.
Start again. So now for someone to move to resume standing orders, so I've got Councillor Thomas and Councillor Longley. All in favour? Against? Carried. Now we'll move on to item number 9, Director of Development Environmental Services Report. Thank you, Steve. Sorry, Susan. Susan, you're just sitting over there together.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before you is item 9.1, which is one of our standard reports about building approvals. I'm ready to take any questions.
Okay, would someone like to move that? Moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Thomas. And any questions or comments, councillors? Well, sorry, Susan, if you'd like to carry on. Nothing
No comment.
you'd like to add? If there's nothing, councillors, I'll put it. All in favour? Against? Carried.
Item 9.2 is a list of development applications that were approved under delegation.
Moved by Councillor Needle, seconded by Councillor Longley. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Against? Carried.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 9.3 is modification to development application 2009-14 for approved campground to change the alternative egress to be replaced with bushfire shelter. The recommendation before council is refusal.
Can I have a mover, please, councillors? Moved by Councillor Whitechurch, seconded by Councillor Law. Any questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Whitechurch.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I note the report and I went back through all of the items that I could have access to back to 2010 with the first development application. There may have been one prior, but that's where I can go back to. Regarding the primitive park, it seems that there was a court proceeding regarding the application where council was then asked to approve the development application with conditions. There was an enormous amount of conditions put on, and there was egress allowed through an adjoining property for fire restrictions. I believe that's now being taken away through a change of ownership. I'm not sure that's totally the case, but obviously the fire bunker is now something that's the primitive park application requires, or is hoping that it's going to satisfy the fire service. It has been going on for a hell of a long time with an enormous amount of objections. An enormous amount of conditions that have been put in place. The cost of those objections alone would run into a considerable amount of money just to get this primitive park off the ground. I commend our Director, Sapliard, on the work that's happened to come to this decision and the recommendation, but I can't go against the recommendation based on the evidence that's been given and the fact that there's not one person in that area that's complaining, apart from the safety of the people that would be in this primitive park. I wonder now with all that's happening, it's nearly a proposal for a caravan park under the true definition of a primitive park. I think that there's going to be more, so it just doesn't seem to fit the guidelines as such, and they keep trying to move the goalposts as the applicant. So I'm happy to move and support the recommendation based on what our directors put to us.
Thank you, Councillor Whitechurch. Any further questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Needle.
Mr. Mayor, just a point of clarification, the second point that provided in your reasons for refusal, that the proposed bushfire shelter is not associated, doesn't meet the Building Code of Australia.
Yes.
And I don't think that we as a council could support any structure that doesn't meet the Building Code of Australia. And I therefore have to support the motion. Recommendation.
Yeah, and of course, going off that, it would need a DA, wouldn't it, to be legal?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in this instance, the original approval was granted by the New South Wales Land Environment Court on council. The modification has been put in under one of the clauses that allows council to modify an approval given by the court. In this instance, the bushfire shelter needs to meet the performance standards under the building code, and it can't in one particular area, and that is that there's no dwelling associated with this particular site, and it's unlikely that there would be a dwelling. So in this instance, we can't impose a condition that they comply with the building code of Australia because we know that they will not be able to. So.
Councillor Whitechurch.
Mr. Mayor, just another clarification. I note that there was a development application tendered that went to the Land Environment Court in 2010. That development application, although the decision being upheld, which expired in 2015, there's since been a second development application lodged, which obviously, those first lot of requirements, so they then carry forward to that development application.
Okay, with the development application, once you enact it, it is active in perpetuity until you surrender that consent. We've stopped using it for more than 12 months. So they have not stopped using the site for more than 12 months, so that development application is still active. They lost their egress, their secondary egress. The condition, I think it's 2A and B, from the original consent outlines that they have to have that secondary egress, otherwise they lose, they can no longer operate as a permanent campground on that site.
Further, I'm just trying to get my head around it, Mr Mayor, to the point that in that original development application, the conditions that were imposed by council as a result of the Land Environment Court upholding the original decision, there were some fairly strict conditions, obviously, and a lot of those have probably been carried out, but their first application, as a point of reference, indicated they wanted a 2,000 litre firefighting tank. The condition was to make a 20,000 litre tank, yes. A 9,000 litre sewerage tank, a 3,000 litre grey water tank. Of all those conditions being carried out, or are they still going to have to be put in over and above what's going to be done?
They had to get construction certificates and occupation certificates to use the site, so those things have been put in place. Our areas of non-conformance that we've uncovered by going through this whole process is that they've never had an approval to operate as a caravan park under the local government regulations. They have put permanent structures down there. They have now since been removed after council officers went and investigated on the site. So we do have a number of issues. It has created a neighbourhood dispute in that area between this development and the rest of the neighbours. So hence the recommendation of the council.
Okay, if there's no further comments, I'll put it. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Oh, record the vote, I'm sorry. All those in favour? All yes.
Yep. We've done that one. And that one. Yeah. Okay, the next item is at 9.5. What I did there is regarding planning for agriculture in the River Murray. There's a draft document out on exhibition councillors, and if any of you would like to make a submission, I will be preparing a submission on behalf of the council. But if you have any comments, they're most welcome. And if you could have them to me by tomorrow, please.
Okay, moved by Councillor Longmire, seconded by Councillor Thomas. Comment, Councillor Thomas?
I've actually put together a few points after reading this particular document. I'm quite prepared to forward them to you, let's say, 5 o'clock tomorrow. I don't think we need to go through it now, but I'm happy to put in an email and forward once you guys do it.
Thank you, Councillor Longmire.
I think it's a good thing to have with processes because the decline of people in the rural areas we're all aware of because of the larger size of the properties and corporate structures and big families buying extra properties and that. So the diminishing of the people that we used to know as older blokes back in the times where there were people in the community to be able to step into a fire truck and all sorts of things that really yielded the opportunity, to have communities that we've seen in the past. This process, already we've seen the exemption to a property size where a residence could be built based on merit. This process goes further to that, and I think it's an excellent thing that we can go through because one of the catch cries was some of the smaller residents were interfering with farm development or farm crop growing and sheep raising, and all those days are really behind us. There's a bigger need now, and it's about the communities being what we used to know in some ways, so that we have these services still be able to go forward and look after everybody and the landscape as well. So I think it's a great process.
Definitely, thank you, Councillor Longmire. Councillor Kenny.
Well, I'm not going to back up Councillor Longmire there. I reckon we've approved one, out of, I think, Baldo somewhere, a small lot size. And it it's encouraging people to go on smaller lots, build a nice home, and I think we need to bring the lot sizes down and make it so they can get investment and get people around the smaller communities that live on, that minimum 1,000 acre build a farm or whatever it was. We need to bring it down so we can get some more investment happening around the Shire.
Thank you, councillors. If there's no more, nothing else, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much, Susan. I'll now ask the item number 10, Director of Engineering Services report. Thanks, Steve.
Item 10.1, Mr Mayor, is a report on the Progress of Works program, which I believe came out of the last meeting, and which I'm happy to present and will continue to present on a monthly basis. Initially, probably if council can just give me some feedback on the format it's in at the moment. And it's in two sections, and I think what I may do, Mr Mayor, even from going forward from here, is add one for maintenance for the routine works we're doing. I've done one then on the capital budget, which I might make a second report, and then the other one I was talking about while we're having a smoko morning tea, was I'd like to get all our major projects we've got, and I know General Manager and myself and Joe have been talking about just getting them into a format on here so we can give you an update on where some of those are up to, because some of them are getting critical as to getting them into the tender process at the moment, so we can get them completed in time frames, or at least show that we've made a commitment that we're going to finish them. So that's there for comment.
I'll get a move for that recommendation, being Councillor Longmire, and a second of Councillor Law. And Councillor Longmire, you want a question?
Well, we've gone from one extreme to the other. The last council meeting we had nothing there, but now we've got probably the biggest maintenance schedule of work being done that I've ever seen in council, so well done, Mr Carmichael. Are you open to an opportunity where, going through the list, if there's a particular road that I've transversed it late and it's not on the list, are you open for me to suggest that? Or
yeah, certainly. I'll just give you some feedback on some areas. If you believe there's roads out there that need them, what we're hoping to do in the next couple of years with a lot of this long-term financial planning and the like, we'll then set up a matrix where certain roads might get graded once a year, certain roads might get graded twice a year. We've got the technology now even in the graders where we can feed that information to the driver, he ticks it off, and as soon as he does that, it resets and says, right, this road needs regrading, provided the conditions are right, obviously. You don't grade a road for the sake of grading, or he might drive along it in 6 months' time for a second grade for the year and say it's in perfect condition, I don't need to regrade it. So that technology is there, we're working on that. But yeah, certainly open the lead roads out there that you people drive on, that we don't get an opportunity every day, so happy to take that on board.
Make the comment as well that the work that is being done is very well done.
Yep.
Yep. And I know for an opportunity now and the standard of the work being applied, I'll have one farmer right off my back. I'm really grateful for that.
I think the other thing you'll find, we obviously tend to do maintenance grading now through until probably into September or something like that. We'll then back right off. We'll do none through the summer, so you'll probably find this will, whereas then we'll be on major projects doing construction, and then later on towards the end of the financial year we'll then go back into routine maintenance works, which is gravel reshooting and grading. So, but I'm happy to bring that council's happy to bring that forward, and I think it's probably easier if it's in three distinct sections. At least I'll have 3 reports each meeting.
I'd like to reiterate those words of Councillor Longmire. It's fantastic. It's all there in front of the councillors. If they've got questions out there in the community, so there's answers there. So that's fantastic. If there's nothing further, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
And we dealt with 10.2, and I'll bit like my colleague, I'll just get down until we get to 10.3, which is a tender assessment report. 1947, construction of the Howlong Road intersection. This is for the Howlong Industrial Estate. I just recommended that we deal with this in closed.
Moved by Councillor Longmire to go to
Council.
Council, seconded by Councillor Neagle. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, we'll just have a minute to shut shop.
No, we still,
You have to notice the motion.
still do the rest and we'll just do close.
Oh, you've been deferred, right, sorry. Okay.
So council, we've got a question with notice on the Yarrawonga Marwala Bridge, so that is 11.1 on your agenda. So that's from Councillor Longmire, and that came through from last month's council meeting on the discussions and the report presented on the Yarrawonga Marwala Bridge survey. So I've provided a response there in writing in accordance with that question that was asked with notice, and have also received some legal advice on the situation reported around to councillors. So that's there for council, and particularly Councillor Longmire's information and discussion. Being a question with notice, it would just be recommending to note
Yes.
the report. Yeah.
And I'll get a movement, please. Moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Whitechurch. Questions or comments, Councillor Longley?
If I may,
Yep.
unless the mover and seconder want to have a say. First of all, thank the General Manager for the reply to the question. Appreciate that. I'd just like to have a comment, if I may, after and resolve my situation in where I've asked the question at last meeting. It's a little bit disappointing that the decision has been made for the grey route by the two state governments. And perhaps if I may, Mr Mayor, ask, since the assessment now of the change of position from the Federation Council, has there been any contact or resolve from either or both of the state governments or entities, as in Vic Roads and RMS, about our position there?
So we've discussed this, but we haven't had any formal meetings as yet, but we're aware through Transport New South Wales and through Justin Clancy, our local member, that based on that decision, they are, the New South Wales side, the agencies are going to look, or are looking at the impacts of a green route bridge on the local streets, which the regional director have made that quite clear as well. So, and the time frame I have is around 6 months to do a report on what that new route would look like, coming off Melbourne Street and going up around towards the green area, and that's all I've heard on it, but we haven't had any formal engagements to go further on that.
I think we're the communities that have been living along the border for decades. We've had to put up with what I would term border anomalies. There's so many places and things that happen in our lives. But in this situation, at the moment, we have the Victoria New South Wales government and their infrastructure agency all agreeing on the grey route at this point in time. And having said that, the two governments are opposites in political persuasion. And so what we have here is a bipartisan decision. So in regard to that, that's pretty unique, very unique in regard to the biggest infrastructure that will be built ever in the time of Federation Council, Corowa Council and Moira Council together. That's how we relate to. I'd like to commend both governments and in that situation to be in their position where they are. And also would like to thank Mr Butler for his due diligence on the process that probably has been at times very difficult. So thank you personally, Mr Butler. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Longmire. Very good. So if there's nothing further, I'll put it. All in favour? Against, carried. Okay, now we've, I'll just get the place again. We've reports from committees.
No items.
No items. Committee. Reports from delegates. Is there any reports? Thank you, Councillor Thomas.
Someone else could go for me.
Oh, you could. Ian was up first.
Okay, I have two. So I was asked to attend the Marwala and Yarrawonga Rotary Club, their dinner, and they wanted to make a presentation to Federation Council, but they really want the books to go into the Marwala Library, and it's a set of 4 books, and I'm not going to hand them all to you, Mr Mayor, because they're very heavy. But anyway, here's one. One of them, so there's 4 books, and they're beautiful, beautiful photos. Set of 4, but everyone would be very familiar with Tom Bringsworth cattle when they came across from South Australia, and that's documented in one of these books. So they're really quite brilliant, iconic pictures that you can see in these lovely boxes. They're set of 4 and they're to go into the Mulwala Library. And the reason the Rotary Club have bought some of these sets is because they actually had this lady come as a guest speaker to one of their Rotary Club changeover dinners, and they were very impressed with her, so they bought four sets of these books to give out to the local libraries. So if you can, someone can take those, get them catalogued and put into our Mulwala Library, it would be brilliant. And the other point of call is that on Saturday I was able to go to the premiere viewing of 5 Seasons, which talks about the gardens of Piet Oldorf, and comes from the Netherlands, and he's ahead of his time in how he delivers his concept of design in terms of gardens and how they look. And it was a free community event, and it was hosted at the Cora Cinema, which is obviously part of the Cora Golf Club, which was kind of donated by the Cora Golf Club, but it was actually funded from Federation Council and Regional Design Service and the Cora Tree Community Life Garden. And I just really want to reiterate what a fabulous event it was. That cinema was full, it had 60 attendees, but the buzz afterwards and their positive affirmations for Federation Council was something that was really highlighted. They were really generous in their support of Federation Council, especially a lot of the gardeners in the room, because obviously we have a lot of open spaces, and so you might have a community-driven project where you might have an open space and they'd like to plant a few trees or a few natives or whatever it might be, and how supportive Federation Council have been in that concept. So I just really want to give you that feedback. But I think there's a lot of opportunity based on what they've just seen. You've had 60 people sit in a room, they might go and tell another 5 people, so exponentially, just be prepared. I think there might be a few of these gardens pop up across in some of these community spaces, and if Federation Council could be at the forefront of supporting those. And just leave you with this concept is, he does a lot of mass plantings, so he believes in mass plantings rather than messy plantings. I'll leave you with that concept.
I'd support that mass planning idea too,
Yeah.
Councillor Thomas.
I would.
That is really exciting, and perhaps it might be fitting for council to send a letter back, a thank you letter to the Rotary Club.
That would be brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. They're very good books, those ones that have been named, because I quite know myself. I did attend Borey Creek, where Mr. Fisher arrived by train to where they renamed the park there in his honour, which was a very good day, and it's very good at the top of it, for sure. Also, local government week at your own working out there with that, a bit of book competitions and certificates awarded to the students of Lakelands and Grade School. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Councillor.
agree with you as well, when you were there.
Yeah, and I'd have to say that the council's plan that was put together for that to meet the train, it worked perfectly. You probably see a letter from Tim Fisher, but thank you. Absolutely blown away. It was really drawn, and I think it was the timing was perfect, and yeah, really honoured his life, and we captured it really well. So thank you for all involved, and the general manager's early trips over to Borey Creek to get that happening. So it was excellent. Councillor Whitchurch.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, my final presentation from the Festival of Dance. They've just recently decided that they're going to go to an incorporated body, which means they will no longer be part of the Council 355 committee, which we talked about at a recent workshop where some of our 355 committees are looking down that track. Very productive committee. They've certainly got the Festival of Dance up to where it is today, and they've got other events happening. Now, although our 355 committees have had council representation, they're going to incorporate it in their last meeting, which was held about 3 weeks ago. They have still said they'd like to have some council representation or a go-to. So if any other councillors would like to join, they can, but I'm going to put my hand up again. So, okay, thank you, I'll accept that position. And I'll happily be a go-to for the Federation Festival. Thank you. Sorry, the Festival of Dance.
But yeah, and such a twinkle goes, I think it's only fair.
You've got no idea.
Councillor Longmire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a little bit of a detailed report on the opportunity I represented Council at the 2019 Australian Livestock Sale Yards Association Conference, which was held at Hyde Place, Cessnock in Melbourne on the 8th and 9th of August. I was accompanied by David Coppolino from the Federation Council staff. Just a few dot points of understanding our position as a Corowa Sale Yards. There are 26 member selling centres in this association, of which Corowa Sale Yards have the third highest throughput behind Bendigo and Hamilton for sheep and lambs at 794,268 of the membership. So we're right up in amongst it. Council membership costs $6,225.08 to be member to subscribe to this organisation. Council's role in owning the yards. Some accountable things here: animal welfare, code of practice, effluent disposal, chain of responsibility, traceability and biosecurity. They're all transcended into a situation where quality assurance in the meat industry, sheep and lambs, what we understand, is very high in the priority. The other one is the induction for council staff. This is council's responsibility. Council staff with support from agents and buyers because of the behaviour of animal activists in scrutinising animal welfare. This is a big thing now, right across the world. It's right on our doorstep. A requirement of a weighbridge, which is a point of discussion in upgrading our facilities. Why? As New South Wales is now strict on compliant weighing and height. Mr Carmichael identified we're now in a better position with the height because there's been some problems with freight, sheep and lamb carriers that have had problems there being picked over. And that's been fixed, as Mr Carmichael said to me a while ago. That's been put in position. So the 4.6 height now, Mr Carmichael, is right across there.
Yeah, what,
if I may digress on this.
Sorry, Mr Mayor. Just on that, apparently what has happened up until recently, if you're on a regional road, you're allowed to have a 4.6 high stop vehicle, which is a standard vehicle, 4-decker. If you got onto a local road off the side of that, you had to somehow take the top deck off and come down to 4.3 because that was the legal height that you could be on a local road. So we've had discussions with the heavy vehicle regulator and now gazetted the whole of the council area as 4.6 high route.
Well done. And so the Victorian and South Australian and Queensland state governments, they do volume loading, meaning that as long as you can push them on and they're not uncomfortable. So there is a situation there that we need to look at. The other things are technology training and use is paramount, along with awareness of good behaviour to keep up with the industry as the VFS policy demands. Now, the question is, why attune to Victorian regulation? But the answer is that more than half of the stock throughput at Corowa comes from Victoria. So we have to be mindful of that. The electronic ear tag requirement is now law in Victoria, whereas in New South Wales it is it's a change. It's from the mob mass movement, meaning that the pick tickets they're all done through the whole mob rather. So, but the groundswell in Victoria to come into the other states is enormous. In fact, they are pushing it. The Victorian agriculture area right through to the Minister of pursuing this very vigorously. It could be a thing that we as a council look at in our upgrading as we go forward. As a yard owner, prepare for a changeover from the mass mob movement currently in New South Wales by perhaps installing infrastructure and software technology in preparation of the RFID being legislated across all states, as I said earlier, by the Victorian Agriculture Department. So already 60% of the sheep and lamb throughput will have electronic ear tags in them as they come through our yards. So that's worth noting. And the other one is the Victorian State Government paid for all sale yards upgrading for this system, which I believe is a topic we as a council need to pursue vigorously through all channels. So if they can do it in Victoria, and it's a national thing in regard to biosecurity and all the rest of it, it's got to be something that we can get funding for. Of all the numerous interesting guest speakers, none was more interesting than Dr. James Ryle from University of Melbourne on the subject of artificial meat. Created from stem cell research. This is unbelievable what they're on. You imagine eating meat that's artificial. At the moment it's cost prohibitive because the research is costing $4,000 to $5,000 a kilogram, sorry, in regard to, so it's not practical to compete against a real animal in the paddock. but given the time, and the other one, because there's world commercial interest all over this, not just Australia, because this is something that if it takes off will be enormous. So there's a whole lot of repercussions in carbon emissions and all the rest of it, you know, with animals in the paddock, a whole raft of things, and pigeons, and there's so many things that are right on top of this. But yeah, so that's just another thing that was really interesting to hear. And as a Federation Council, had a former staff member, or a staff member on the executive of this ELSA, and he's no longer in that capacity. There was a vacancy, so after consulting with their general manager, would it be suitable if I nominated, and which I did, and I was accepted. So it's an opportunity to represent council at this level, and so I hope that's accepting of the rest of the council, but certainly the general manager gave me permission to do it. And that will be an opportunity to represent council alongside members from Shepparton, Oyen, Narra Court, Wellington, Sandquia, Bullock, Bendigo and Horsham. So we're in with our feet under the table.
Excellent, Councillor.
So I hope that's okay with the council. Any questions? Yeah.
Councillors, I'd like to endorse that. So would someone like to move, moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Meagle? No questions or comments, I presume? All in favour? Against, carried.
Thank you, Cam.
There you go. Councillor Longley, you've got the support of the whole council.
I don't know what's going to lead to, but anyway, we'll have our say.
A good job. Delegates reports, anything further? If not, I'll just pick on one that's a bit outside the square, and that was the, as well as all those someone have heard about, I did go to the ACTAC, the Sustainable Diversion Limits Day with the Steph Cook, she's the member for Cuban Underway, and Justin Clancy, and there was different parties there from Office of Water, Office of Environment Heritage, etc. And that, basically they just showed us the points where they're going to put this new infrastructure, well, they're thinking about putting this new infrastructure in, and then to take us along and let us know the process that they're following, so that we can also represent our communities as far as good answers for them, good honest answers, and that was the message of the day. There's no trust, so we will be all following it from the, I suppose, the birth of this, the whole SDL scheme out here, right through, so that we can, you know, squash what we think is not appropriate. But it was interesting. There was a number of players. The Wiradjuri people were there as well and made some really good points. And they made a point that their share of the water, the 1% that they own in Australia, they would use that 1% to stop any sustainable diversion limits in that system, because it was very rich in their cultural heritage. So it's comforting to know that there's some pretty heavy players in there that are, you know, able to stop at anyone in its track. So that was good. So yeah, if there's nothing further, I'll get someone to move these.
Might do it one with Longley and Meagle.
Yeah. Okay. That's all right. Any other reports, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Against, carried. Okay, so we've got correspondence requiring council action on information.
Yeah, 14.1, it's been the subject of quite a few council reports, but this is a letter from an owner of land down Orford Street or adjacent to Orford Street with an offer, or counter offer of $2,500 for the land which council agreed would be closed and transferred to that neighbour. Council seen the correspondence. The offer based on the value of General's unimproved value was quite a bit high. It was about $16,000 that the staff had sent as the offer, and they've come back with that counter offer of $2,500. Recommendation there is to note the letter and accept that offer, and basically resolve that's enough for that bit of the land, and all the other costs would be borne by the developer to close that out.
Okay, could I move it, please, councillors? Moved by Councillor Whitchurch, seconded by Councillor Kennedy. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it all in favour.
Aye.
Against, carried.
Correspondence, other items. So 14.2 is, as the Mayor had suggested, mentioned, a very nice email coming from Tim Fisher, thanking Council and the Boree Creek community for the naming of the park held out there earlier in July. So that's very timely letter that's come back in from Tim. John Barilaro MP letter and fact sheet on the Snowy Hydro Legacy Fund for Council's information. 14.4 is a letter to Council from the Office of Local Government approving some variations which Council had sought under the merger funding projects, and we transferred some projects funding around to get some better outcomes, so that was good to get that formal approval. And 14.5 is for information on possible attendance at the 2019 ALGA, National Local Roads and Transport Conference, late November. There is a clash with the November council meeting that we'd have to be aware of, but it wouldn't restrict a councillor from attending, certainly, so that's there as well. We've got some more time, obviously, to do that one. 14.6 is another conference. It's the Murray-Darling Association National Conference, and that's the 22nd and 24th of October 2019. And 14.7 is the Country Mayor Association minutes, of which the Mayor and I attended that last meeting of Country Mayors. So they're all recommended for noting, and we can follow up on any other actions out of those if there's attendances for council, or nominate now, or else let us know prior to the cut-off.
Okay, moved by Councillor Law, seconded by Councillor Kennedy. Any questions or comments on any of those items, councils? If not, I'll put them. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
So that's
So to item number 15, confidential matters.
recommend to move to close
Yeah,
for
well,
those
some-
reasons.
Someone like to move that recommendation? Moved by Councillor Longmire, seconded by Councillor Law. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Just have a moment and we'll